die at the same time. And they meet St. Peter at the pearly gates. And St. Peter says, I'd like to get you guys in right now, but our computers are down. So you'll have to go back to Earth for a week, but you can't go back as humans. So what would you like to go as? The first priest says, I have always wanted to be an eagle and soar over the Rocky Mountains. And St. Peter says, great, so be it. And the first priest flies off. The second priest mulls this for just a moment, and he asks, will you be keeping track of us this week, St. Peter? St. Peter says, no, I told you the computers are down, so it's like a freebie. We can't keep track of what you're doing this week. Oh, so he thinks for just a moment, and he says, you know, I've always wanted to be a stud. Great, so be it. And the second priest disappears. So the week goes by, the computer is fixed, and the Lord calls down to St. Peter and says, let's get those two priests back in here. Do you think they'll be hard to find? And the St. Peter says, the first one should be easy because I know he's flying with the eagles over the mountains. Not a problem. The second one, though, could prove to be a little more difficult. Why is that? Asked the Lord. Well, because he's on a snow tire somewhere in Alaska. Stud, tires, stud. Our title today is Stepping Up and Stepping Out. Stepping out, stepping up, keeping with the global themes with Centers for Spiritual Living. And we're ending the month of April, which the title and theme for April was Stepping into the Unknown. Joseph Campbell says we must be willing to let go of the life we had planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. When we are gratefully willing to step out of what has been and confidently step up and forward onto a new path of growth, they say there's an excitement as we blaze toward another new trail of spiritual awareness. As we do that, it's always good to be aware, what have we learned so far on our life's journey? And what gifts are we bringing to this new leg of our journey? And what will we share with those who travel with us? Stepping out and stepping up fearlessly. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe a little sheepishly, but we do it anyway, right? Because that's what we do in Science of Mind. The phrase to course fearlessly onward always made me feel a little more timid because it made me feel like I was supposed to know what was going to happen ahead of time. And you can't always know what's going to happen. But to go boldly up to the next frontier where no one has gone before and fearlessly into the night, onto that new path, hasn't always been me, at least in those words, but I've done it. I was very willing to do it, but I've always asked for a little guidance when I would start a new path, asking Spirit to hold my hand because my other hand was usually covering my eyes as we kind of make that decision. Everybody know what I'm talking about with that one? Yeah. There are Science of Mind spiritual principles that support our new journey on a new path. Freedom is one. We have freedom to choose this action for ourselves. Freedom is the birthright of every person. We are free to choose and create our experience of life. You just got to be careful of what you choose unless it's something that has two separate meanings, like a stud, right? And we believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this universal creative mind, which receives the impress of our thoughts and acts upon it. Ernest Holmes says, we seek to make our dreams come true, and unless our dreams are subjective hallucinations, they will become actual experiences if we demonstrate our principle. True ideas pass through to accomplishment. So we are opening ourselves for growth. And as we let go of the life we thought we would have and allow the life that is waiting for us to reveal itself, we travel new paths, we take new journeys, even if we feel like we have to cover our eyes sometimes. And how about that Science of Mind catchphrase, change your thinking, change your life? Hey, that sounds pretty easy, right? There are times when that can be one of the most frightening things to do. In Science of Mind, in the teaching, we don't deny that a condition exists, but we deny that it has to continue. And yet, we can stay comfortable in our discontent, which would be the condition, rather than denying that it must continue and risk stepping out and being that which we are called to be. Each of us has a unique purpose that no other person on the planet can fulfill. And if we choose to ignore that purpose, to live small, not only do we miss out, but the world misses out on us. I love the work of the writer Anais Nin, her quotes especially because they're profoundly accurate in their meaning of life. I had a favorite quote that guided me through most of my journey and awakening and opening. And it goes like this. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. The day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. If we cannot allow and work to free ourselves from a life that is constricting and not allowing ourselves to step out and step up, then how can we grow and be the life that we are called to be? Some people would say that is their sole purpose, and everyone has a sole purpose, but we have to step into it. I like that the term, you even have that sentence about sole purpose in your affirmation. I like that. Another quote by Anais Nin that I really like is, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. When I cover my eyes, is it possible that I'm being hesitant, pulling back, which in a way may form the idea ahead of time for something to be fearful or difficult on the path? If so, that's how I might be experiencing my journey and what's going to come into my life. But what if I made the conscious choice to flow with the good that comes with the changes? And not only that, but declare that as I go and make my changes, even baby steps, I'm guided for my highest good. I'm guided for my best care and even the abundance that supports me in the changes I make and what's coming into my life. Even saying that kind of, yeah, I like that. You declare that ahead of time. Thich Nhat Hanh says, enlightenment for a wave in the ocean is the moment the wave realizes it is the water. When we realize we're not separate, but a part of the huge ocean of everything, we become enlightened. We realize this through practice, and we remain awake and aware of this through more practice. So as we step out of our comfort zone, step up into spiritual awakening, it's good to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. I'm reminded also that in a 12-step program, step number 2 is that we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And that's knowing that we are supported by something bigger that actually guides us through healing when we make that decision. So that moment of aha, when we have the realization that we are the water, we are source itself, we're the place where spirit lives and moves and has its being and it expands with us and even our experiences, that's the validation that we're on the right path of growth. We, each one of us, are a reflection of the whole. We are a part of the hologram. And as Thich Nhat Hanh says, it is a practice to know this. But how do we practice? And practice well continuously. Spiritual awareness develops through the spiritual practices of meditation, affirmation, our affirmative prayer, the affirmation, I am. All of this leads us to remember that we are a piece of the whole. Spiritual practice also raises our energy and our frequency, which supports us into coming into alignment with recognizing that we are the wave or the drop of water, remembering we are the ocean itself. We are energy, and that's a scientific fact. When we're in a lower energy, we lose the connection to the guidance because it can't find us. Because spiritual energy is high. And that's why we teach spiritual practice and science of mind, to get us to the point and to be open to the guidance. Actually, there's many things we can do to raise our energy field, which supports us moving on a path of growth and expansion, and supports our connection to receiving the intuition that we're looking for and the guidance and our prayer work. So here's a list. I have a little printout or there on the table, and it'll be up on the Tulsa Facebook page and Inner Journey as well. So besides what I've mentioned, There's things like gratitude journals and the affirmations, Reiki, allowing ourselves to actually feel our emotions and do emotional release for healthy energy and transmutation of those feelings. Forgiveness of self and others. Hobbies are things that bring you joy, things that are fun. Drink lots of water, they say. Connect with nature, and deep breathing. Every time I hear the word breath or breathe, my body wants to take that big breath. So even do that now. And that raises your energy. Also self-love and childlike play, eating green live food, and taking that wonderful soaking bath with magnesium. Those are all things that raise your physical energy field. So as we begin this journey, any journey, we step out into the unknown. And what we bring with when we do this? What are we willing to leave behind? And that's a big one. That's a very big one. And that is something in itself that stops people when they're on their path, because it's difficult to let go. And it's very sad when people and things don't resonate with us anymore because they don't grow with us. But we've been cast this part since our very first breath. Our soul has continually called us to be brave as we journey. You're not alone. Step up regardless of what other people around you may think, because it is your time. And they have the option to choose as well. Ask yourself, if I was living my life fully, what would I be doing? Then do it. Find a way, even if it's baby steps, because every step is important. Marianne Williamson says each one of us has a unique part to play in the healing of the world. Energetically, as each individual does their healing work and heals parts of ourselves, then they provide the magnetism and the energy for others to also do their healing work. That's not something that's talked about very much. There's actually something called a healing ladder. Where you are, where I am, where we are on a ladder energetically, we have the field around us. And as we're doing our work, you think of yourselves on the rung of a ladder. There are people below us also on a ladder doing their work. But as you heal and raise your energy, you are actually supporting other people coming up that ladder to do healing work. You become an example and an energy flow. And yet there are people above the ladder above you. And so they are pulling you up on the ladder also. So it's this continual support of life and expression that you expand and heal, you become an example, and that raises others, and others are raising you. So it's a wonderful mechanism. As we step out into our journey, we become that example. And so some will take the hint, but not everybody, but that's okay. Science of Mind teachings are a perfect roadmap for our spiritual, emotional, physical, and financial awakening. We are an integral part in the whole creative process of life, and Science of Mind supports us as we become aware of that. It shows us how to use it to continue to grow and deepen. And every person here I know has a story about what it's been like with these teachings and what they've taught you and how they've changed you as you grow. That's very important to have something of a support system like that. And now's the time to share your good. Be strong in your conviction and stronger in your faith of yourself and of God as your source of expression and fullness, and that you're not alone in the process. And have faith that you're guided when you're on that path. And it's what we came here to do, to evolve and expand, because God, Spirit expands as we expand with our feelings, our emotions, and our awakening. The world needs you, me, us, all of us. So step out of your comfort zone and step up into what you came here to be. I was sharing these notes with my husband and telling him what it was about. And the topic was stepping up and stepping out, change and growth. And I mentioned I wanted to add a personal story to kind of bring my points together. And I couldn't think of what to say. Well, he bust out laughing and he's like, "Are you kidding me? Since I've known you, that's all you've ever done is growth and change and processing." And then I kind of chuckled for a minute and I thought, yeah, I guess you're right. because I don't always see it. I also had a friend long ago who said that she didn't know anybody who dove into processing as much as I did, because she knew me at that time when everything was kind of sparking, you know, and you're looking for things that grow you. And I had a motto, and I just thought, if it's going to grow me, I'm diving in head first. And that's what I did. My other affirmation I used to use after I would sign up for yet another processing class was, okay, boys and girls, buckle your seat belts and keep your hands and feet in the cart at all times, because it could be a bumpy ride, because you just don't know. But those were signals to myself, to my body, and to my whole energy field that I was ready to grow again and do something else. Past the age of 30, somehow I just knew I was supposed to begin the work. And I started with core beliefs of my religious background, and then I went into all those internal things about me. I read, I got transpersonal therapy, I got lots of body work, I learned different kinds of meditation, I found spiritual groups, I did Native American processes, crystal work, energy work. Have I finished the list? I'm a Reiki master, and then I finally found Science of Mind. And in between all of it, I cried, I pulled my hair out, I threatened to give up, and I journaled till my fingers were sore, because that's what we do, right? And with the conscious and subconscious agreements, and I'll add in internal alarm clocks, because we all have those that kind of guide us along the way. I knew I was always in the presence with someone guiding me, holding my hand, and someone pulling me along. I made great friends. I met many like-minded people, and it's been a wonderful journey, taking those steps, stepping out, and for a new pathway for me. When I look back in the 80s, and really not who I was, but where I was in the 80s, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I like this expansion, and it still continues. When my husband laughed, saying that I've always done growth and change, and remembering my friend's comment, it reminded me that we don't always see ourselves and how we grow. We don't see what we do. And a friend might describe, well, we might describe ourselves as maybe, I've grown maybe this much. And you'll ask your friend, and they might go, oh, wow, I think you've grown this much. And they're the ones that can see what you've done. And there's always more to do when we're willing. Spirit is ever expanding through us, and we continue. In Brene Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness, she uses the acronym BRAVING, B-R-A-V-I-N-G. B for boundaries, set, hold, and respect boundaries. R for reliability, learn to say what you mean and mean what you say. A for accountability, step up, be accountable, take responsibility, and issue meaningful apologies when you're wrong. V for vault, keep confidences, recognize what is ours to share and what's not. I for integrity, practice your values even when difficult and hard. N for non-judgment, give and receive help. And G for generosity, learn how to be generous in our assumptions about others. That's braving. So this week, are we brave to do our work? Yes, we are brave to do our work. How brave are you willing to be to step out and step up into your journey, your soul purpose, your growth and evolution and expansion, even though it may be unknown and you can still cover your eyes when you want to? Ernest Holmes says, the greatest gift life could have made to you is yourself. You are spontaneous, self-choosing center in the great drama of being, the great joy of becoming, the certainty of eternal expansion. How brave are you willing to be to step out and step up into your magnificence? And so it is.